Who are the world's most interesting people? And what fascinating, groundbreaking, incredible things can they teach us? In this new series, I leave our Science of People lab to interview my favorite authors, experts, and celebrities for them to share their best people hacks, social skills, and stories. And let me tell you, they have some juicy tips. This is a new series I'm calling The World's Most Interesting People. Hello, YouTube friends. We are here for the next installment of World's Most Interesting People. I'm here in person with the real Jordan Harbinger. If you don't listen to his show, The Jordan Harbinger Show, you must go listen to it immediately. Today we're going to get a little bit of his brain to talk about one of my favorite topics, networking.
Yes.
So tell us, is networking teachable, learnable? Do you have to be born with it? Where does it come from?
Honestly, yes to all of the above.
Okay.
You don't have to be born with it, so maybe no to that. But I think a lot of people are born into it, and we look at those people and we think, I can never...
They're amazing. Yeah.
They're amazing, or I can never do that because his dad owned Microsoft or something, and now he knows everyone.
Bill Gates.
Right, yes, exactly.
I know him.
Yeah, we're all friends.
No, don't.
The idea, though, is that you can learn this, and you can, more importantly, master this skill set in a shorter amount of time.
Yeah.
And people think, it's going to be fake. You know, everyone I know that networks, we have this sort of... We put stank on it. We're like, it's all about who you know. And we're usually talking about someone else who has an advantage, perceived advantage over us. And we think, I don't want to be like that person because I dislike the fact that they got this. Whereas you think, well, I earned it, but now that person got chosen over me. If you're good at this skill set, you can do this in a non-smarmy, non-slimy way, but you can also, you should have people saying that about you. She does know everyone, so it makes sense she got that project or
And anyone can get that, right?
Anyone can get that. I learned this in a way the hard way, but thankfully in the nick of time.
What's the hard way? What happened?
Well, what happened was when I was in high school, I was kind of like, I'm going to teach myself the math the night before the test. And so I got to coast
You were one of those
school.
kids. Okay.
Not that I did especially well or anything, but I was able to just kind of like fake it till I made it.
And I was like the kid who like asked the teacher for the textbook in the summer. Mm-hmm. Like that.
Can I have extra homework?
That was
no surprise there.
I know.
No surprise there.
Oh, yes.
But then I got to college.
Yeah.
And I went to the University of Michigan, and everybody was really smart. And I was like, I can't fake my way through this at all.
Yeah.
I'm in trouble. Luckily, everybody was drinking their face off, so I could just outwork everyone. Right? I was like...
Underdrink, outwork.
Right, underdrink and outwork.
Sure.
Everyone's like, what are you doing tonight? And I'm like, studying anthropology. And they're like, you're a loser. And then I would outwork them, and I did fine. Okay. Yeah. But then I got to Wall Street as an attorney. Oh. And everybody was working 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they were all smart, and as I perceived through my imposter syndrome at the time, smarter than me. And I thought, oh no, my competitive advantage that I always had, which was either to outwork everyone or just be smarter, has melted away. And I thought, I'm going to get fired. Like, they're going to figure out I don't belong here. Imposter syndrome, probably another subject for another video.
Yeah.
But they're going to figure out that I don't belong here. I'm going to get fired, and then what am I going to do? I worked so hard to get here. I'm screwed. And I knew this one partner named Dave. And Dave was always, well, first of all, he was never in the office. And he was supposed to be
something.
Yeah, but he was a partner.
Yeah.
What's going on here? He wasn't an old founding partner. He was a younger guy.
Yeah.
But he was always working from home. And I thought, if I can figure out how to let me work from home, then it'll take longer for them to figure out I'm an imbecile, and then I won't get fired, and then maybe I can figure out how to do this whole law thing. Yeah. So I had Dave take me out for coffee, and I was like, how do you work from a and I thought I was going to get this magic, like, up, down, left, right, select
maneuvers, a map to working from home.
A secret code that I say to HR or whoever, and then they let me work from home. What happened was he said, actually, I bring in a lot of the business through my relationships. And I was like, you're speaking Greek to me, man. What are you talking about? You bring in business. Because I thought people find our firm in the yellow pages or something, and then they give us $1 million law deals, and then ... I work here long enough, I get to be a partner, right?
Right.
Because that's kind of what they had explained to us. It's like, you just put in your time, and you'll become a partner.
And like, actually, the most important part of the funnel at a law firm is bringing in the people that can actually pay your rates.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I thought, okay, I got to take a cue from Dave. And I asked him what he was doing. And I quickly found out that he had absolutely no conscious idea. He was like, just be cool, man, and hang out, and, your friends will give you business. And I thought, friends will give me business? What are you talking about? I don't have any friends. I work all day. What's going on here? I work on Wall Street. And so I decided to reverse engineer this process. Yeah. And that was not easy. because I looked at what he was doing and I didn't get it. I went, you're doing jiu-jitsu, you're going on charity events, you're playing squash and racquetball. Where is the whole you're selling people on our firm thing
When you're not handing out your business card, how are you getting business?
Yeah, and everyone thought he was so cool and relaxed, and I thought, there's something here. So I took every networking class that I could, and it's all like, look him in the eye and have a firm handshake.
Yeah.
But after a while, you call BS on this, right?
Yeah.
You're like, if people don't like you, it's not because you didn't have a firm handshake or you had mediocre eye contact. There's other real stuff going on here that is not being diagnosed in your Dale Carnegie class from the guy in the sweater vest at the YMCA on Friday night, right?
Like something's off here. Like if it was working for all of them, everyone would be doing it all the time.
Yeah. And also, why are you teaching a class at the YMCA in a sweater vest if you're so great at this that you can bring in multi-million-dollar law deals for a Wall Street firm?
Which we call rainmaking, right?
Rainmaking.
Like I think that reverse engineering rainmaking is like they're the ones who like are able to do a little dance like somehow, and then like the rain comes, like the money comes. Yeah.
And everyone was really surprised by what Dave was doing because they were just like, oh, he's magical. He has all these great relationships. And when our firm hit hard times in 2008, along with everybody else, he walked out of that firm and walked into another firm as a partner, whereas all of these other partners, they got retired.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, this guy, he knows. He's got a book of business that even when clients were going out of business, he just went, well, I've still got these other people in my network.
And I'll take them with me.
Yeah. So he was writing his own ticket. And I thought, this is real job security.
Yeah.
This is him having opportunities just falling around him all over the place. Because when the firm was essentially crumbling, he just basically went, oh, where do I want to go now? And somebody pulled him out of the rubble, right? And I thought, I need that. And I dedicated my life to trying to figure out, how do I generate relationships? How do I make these connections? But I don't want to do it in a way where I'm like, hey, Vanessa, when you need financial manager, give me a call. right?
Exactly.
I didn't want that at all. That was terrible.
And that doesn't work.
No, and you we all hate those people.
Yeah.
They're the worst. So I wanted to figure out how to keep that secret competitive advantage where I'm creating and generating relationships, but I'm also not like business cards slinging all over town.
I like the idea of like it's the ultimate job skill and it's also the ultimate job insurance. I think that learning networking is investing in your career and that it is insurance in that if you wanted to leave and go somewhere else, you can tap into your network to get that job or you can bring clients with you or whatever that is. So this is insurance we're talking about.
It's insurance, and the thing is a lot of people think, well, I don't really want to do that, or I'm just going to keep my head down and build my skills in these other areas. And those are valid objections or valid kind of arguments, but here's the problem. Eventually you're going to run into a wall where you're the most qualified coder engineer at Amazon, but you're not quite management material. Or maybe you're too valuable in the trenches.
Yeah.
So you're not quite management material for that reason too. Or you master some other area, but we're looking for something else as a leader. That's a problem for you. So you're not immune to the consequences of not mastering this skill set. You're just being willfully ignorant of this secret game that's being played around you.
And there's one of the biggest reasons that students come to us. It's so interesting. We have this application process for a lot of our programs. And we've actually had people say, I reached the top of my game. Usually it's like coding or engineering, graphic design, something like that. And my boss told me that I didn't have the people skills to be able to make it to the next level. And so I was refused a promotion. That is the most common response that we get, which is heartbreaking because these are intelligent, brilliant people. So it really, really is insurance. It's not a nice to have. I think it's a need to have.
It is a need to have. And people we use a lot of excuses. Like, well, I didn't go to a fancy private school. Well, my parents didn't know a bunch of people to hook me up with.
Right.
Or it's too late for me because I'm 40 and I can't possibly start now.
Or I'm introverted.
Yes,
right?
I love that one. That's like the medical excuse. Like, well, I'm an introvert. And whenever I give this talk in Silicon Valley especially, I'm like, who here thinks they're an introvert? The whole room raises their hand and I'm like, you have no more medical excuse for not networking. And everyone laughs because you're saying that. Well, sorry, I'm an introvert. That's not what introversion means or is. It means that you maybe recharge better when you're not around people. It doesn't mean you have an inability.
Right. Exactly. So what are the skills? And we have 5 different skills we're going to talk about. We already talked about the first one, kind of this is a competitive advantage. Yeah. How do both introverts, extroverts, ambiverts, what did you discover reverse engineering?
So the first principle is really that you have to dig the well before you're thirsty. And this sort of dovetails with the procrastination angle because people, especially entrepreneurs, will say things like, look, I'm wearing 10 hats.
Yeah.
I got to finish my website and then I'll start doing this. And then you finish the website and you're like, I need a prototype though. Why should I don't have anything to sell yet. I gotta get this thing that I need to sell. And then you go, well, I'm heads down leading my team and I got my salespeople doing the networking thing, so I'm good.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm good. So there's always a hurdle in the way. And the reason is because people don't want to put themselves out there and face rejection. They don't know how to do it, or they feel smarmy doing it. So they have these sort of objections, which are very valid sounding in your head. The problem is, like I said, you're just being willfully ignorant of what's happening around you. You have to dig the well before you're thirsty. And what that means, not just a clever book title that is still from Harvey McKay, is that you have to create these relationships before you need them. Because if you get a flat tire on the side of the highway, it's already too late to throw that spare in the back of the car. So what we want to make sure that we're doing is creating these relationships before we need them. We've all had people, and you and I were just talking about this. Hey, I haven't talked to you for like 3 years. Anyway, I got this thing I need to sell. Let me come
all
on
the
your
time.
channel.
I haven't talked to you in 3 years. I have a book coming out. I haven't talked to you in 3 years. I need a job. I haven't talked to you in 3 years, and you're like, what? Like, you met me once 3 years ago. Like, this is not a relationship, right? This is actually worse than that. Like, I would rather you cold pitch me and be like, I've never met you before, but I have this book coming out. Or I've never met you before. I need a job. Exactly. And like, I think that it's not a puddle. It's a well.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a puddle, it's a well. And you have to make sure that you're creating and maintaining these. And it feels overwhelming at first because you think, oh God, there's so many people I know. Where do I begin? Or I'm just starting out. I don't have anything to offer. What am I going to do? And so the answer to this is, instead of ABC, always be closing, it's ABG, always be generous or always be giving.
Okay.
This is give without the attachment or expectation of anything in return.
Okay.
So not only are we starting early, but I'm trying to figure out how I can just do little one-off things to help other people. And this is where the smarm melts away, because I'm not saying, hey, I have a book. Why don't I help you sell some copies of Captivate or some copies of your course? And then ... here's this thing I really need from you.
And that happens all the time.
I'm sure.
So like it's one step better than like the puddle, right? It's like one step better than like, hey, it's been 3 years since my book. I hate it when someone's like, hey, like I just tweeted about your book. Could you now tweet about mine?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not the same. Like, it's like a little bit better than the puddle, but not by much.
It's still quid pro quo, and it's still transactional. Yeah. So ABG, always be giving or always be generous, is the opposite of that. Like, when your book came out, I don't remember exactly what I did, but I remember talking about it, writing a review on Amazon, telling people about it. You
are, like, the quintessential definition of this, because you asked me on your show very, very early on. Great. Then, like, not only did you ask me on the show, you linked to my show all over the website, you put my show in email newsletters, like, not even, like, for any reason. And then, when the book came out, like, you gave it a testimonial.
Oh, that's right. I'm on the back of the book.
You're on the back of the book. Yes, you gave me a testimonial. Like, we did an in-person show in San Francisco, and, like, nothing was like, hey, now can you...
Yeah, and the reason for that wasn't later on, I've got this thing that I want to ask. It was literally just this friend of mine needs help with this thing. And I don't care, and I know this sounds like BS, I literally do not care if you can ever help me with anything in the future. Not you personally, but anyone in general. I'm giving without the attachment to anything in return. So if you help 100 people and 90 of them never help you, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's fine, because you're building social capital, goodwill, and things like that. Yeah. Maybe somebody owes you one, but it's never quite going to come back to you in the way that you expect. So, for example, when I moved to LA a long time ago, I don't even live there anymore, I had a toothache. And I didn't have dental insurance, because who the hell has dental insurance when you're like 26, man, and you're an entrepreneur?
Yeah, no.
There's a million...
First thing to go.
Yeah.
First thing to go.
Like, no thanks. So I wanted to get this toothache fixed, and everyone's like, go to the ER, I'm not taking new patients, whatever. Oh. And this is pre-Uber. I didn't have a car, I just moved from New York. So I post on Facebook, and some random person who listens to the show that I'd never met before was like, my aunt's a dentist, do you want me to call her? I know what toothaches are, they're terrible. He does it. I go in early. They open for me, take care of the tooth, pay in cash, super grateful. And I said, what can I do for you, man? He goes, oh, I don't know. Nothing really, but I want to be a graphic designer. Here's my portfolio. I work at a coffee shop right now. And I'm like, well, I don't have any work for you, but I'll keep my ear to the ground. And he's like, no problem. Didn't expect anything in return. 4 or 5 days later, and who knows, it's been years, so it could have been weeks. Another entrepreneur friend of mine's like, hey, who does your website? And I said, well, we do it in-house. She goes, I'm having flaky designer problems. And I go, look, I've never worked with this guy, but I have a portfolio. He seems super nice. He helped me find a dentist. He's responsive. He actually answers his email, and he's really keen on getting a foothold in the industry, so you can probably get him for a bargain price. Yeah. And she checked out his work, And she ended up hiring this guy full time, and he's made dozens of websites for her.
Yeah.
And I thought, wait a minute. This guy got a full-time job in his field of interest because he found me a dentist on Facebook.
So, and like everyone's busy, right? Like he was probably super busy. He's like this random guy. I'm not going to help call my aunt and find a dentist. And that's also, I think, networking doesn't have to be going to networking events.
No, and it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be. His networking was looking at his feed, following people he actually likes, right? This is also like, it's really hard to help people you don't really like. It's really easy to help people you genuinely like. And then heard the response and actually stepped up and said, me, I'll help.
Right. And what's really useful about this for people to take away is if he somehow had a list of every person that he'd met in his entire life, he could have reached out to all of them and not gotten this opportunity that I ended up giving him. Right. And if I had asked every person that I'd ever met in my entire life for a dental recommendation in my area, I would not have found this dentist.
Right.
So since he helped me, he found an opportunity that was over the horizon, so he couldn't see it.
Yeah.
And the only way that you find these opportunities is by helping other people without thinking, I'm looking for jobs in graphic design. Who can I strategically help right now?
Yes, exactly.
You won't find these opportunities, right? So me having you on my show years ago, I wasn't thinking like, good, in 5 years, I'm going to help her with their book, and then I'm going to end up on her YouTube channel. Like, you can't see these opportunities.
Yes.
So you just help people who have good stuff, help people that you like.
Yeah.
If you get the short end of the stick, so to speak, 90 times out of 100, it doesn't
It's good
matter.
karma. At the worst, it's good karma. So I always say, like, if you can raise your hand for something, like, that's maybe the action step here is, like, start raising your hand more for things that are easy and good karma. And if that comes back, great. But if not, like, good juju for you.
Right. And so here's the objection, though. I'm starting a business. I don't have time to help people who aren't going to help me in return. I'm looking for specific things. I don't have time to help randoms. You really do need to figure out how to get these opportunities that you cannot see. And the way to do that is to really not keep score. Because if I'm saying I'm a graphic designer, I can only help people with graphics, you're in trouble. And I'll get to keeping score in a second, but let's talk about scalability first.
Okay, yeah.
So if I'm a graphic designer, I can only help people with graphics if I have that limiting mindset. Well, that's a problem, because if I just help 10 people and I'm making graphics for them for free, I'm going broke. I'm not feeding my face or my family.
It's taking your paying skill and turning it into a free skill.
Right, and that's a problem. You're commoditizing yourself. Or even worse, you're just donating everything that you can be selling.
Yeah.
So the way that we make this workable and scalable is by creating opportunities for others in your network. So instead of creating free graphics or free websites for everybody, what we're doing is I might meet a cryptocurrency investor and I'm like, cool, that's interesting. And then I meet a CPA who knows a lot about cryptocurrency. I will connect those two people instead, and I can make an email introduction 100 times a day and not really dig into my work time. Right? I can make dozens and dozens of email introductions. Now I have my assistant do it because it's easier to do. And I do this in a very specific way. It's called the double opt-in introduction.
Oh, I like it.
So what this means is if I meet somebody who needs the cryptocurrency tax advice, right? Or I think they do, I will ask that CPA that I met, hey, can I introduce you to this person? I will also ask the cryptocurrency investor, can I introduce you to this person?
Two confirmations.
So I'm sending an email out to each of those people. If they come back affirmative, then I connect both of them. They then value the introduction more.
Right.
And you avoid awkward stuff like, oh, hey, we already know each other. Or worse, crap, I've been avoiding this person for like 3 months.
And that happens to me a lot where people do that. And I'm like, I wish you hadn't have introduced me.
Yeah.
So so a couple really good action steps here is the double intro opt-in, double opt-in intro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Double opt-in intro, which I love, gets permission. Also, it gets you in their inbox a little bit more in a friendly way, right? Like you're asking permission, you're saying, hi, hey, how's how's work going? Whatever, you can check in. The second thing here is creating something that isn't your income that you can use to give. I'll give you a really interesting example. I hadn't thought about this until you just mentioned it. So we don't do coaching or consulting. I don't give away free things that often. But the one thing that I give away a lot is I'm a kind of amateur prepper. So very weird thing.
Doomsday prepper?
Yeah, like a little bit amateur about it. Like I love like prepping, like I love food storage. I can talk about solar panels. Anyway, so I love that stuff. And so I put together, everyone was always asking me like, what's a couple tips you have for me? So I spent like 3 days putting together like a guide that I give away for free. Anyone who says they want to learn about prepper stuff, I send it to them. I have gotten more business leads from people who are like, hey, I read your prepper guide, and then I noticed like a little link at the very bottom that had your website. And then I checked out People School and Captivate, how great. And that's like one of those things where I could talk about that all day. It's not my livelihood. It's not my business. But somehow giving it out there for free.
Zombie body language.
Well, that's coming.
Yeah.
That's the name of my next book, guys. Get ready.
Sorry for the spoiler.
That's zombie body language.
You have your arms loosely in front of you at all times.
That was zombie body language. I just did the whole book for you. It was just one page.
Yeah, you're welcome, everybody.
So those are 2 different action steps for you.
So the double opt-in intro is really key.
Love it.
And making it scalable is really key, because then that's what we're talking about. Because people go, I can't just keep helping all these people. You can. You're helping them get together. Mm-hmm. And of course, you can't really do that if you're only networking with people that you need something from.
Exactly.
At some point, you're going to have a really small, limited pool of folks.
And they'll know.
Oh, they will know.
They'll talk to each other. They know. For sure. And like I've met with other people in our industry where like it's a very small industry. Yeah. And people say, oh yeah, I know him. He asked me to pitch his book, or I helped him with something, and then he disappeared off the face of the planet.
Vanishes, yes.
And we talk.
And we have to not keep score. I brought this up a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Not keeping score is really important. So what this is I'll give a really simple example. I drive you to the airport, and then I pick you up from the airport. Cool. That's what friends do. Mm-hmm. And then you fly a lot. I don't fly a lot. Let's pretend. So I drive you to the airport, pick you up from the airport. Drive you to the airport, pick you up from the airport. And I'm like, every time I do this, Vanessa kind of owes me one, and I'm never cashing in on it. So on time number 5, I'm like, hey, can you send an email to your entire list about my mint tea recipe booklet that I just created? And you're like, this isn't really a good fit for what I do. So in my head, all that airport trip, I created a covert contract in my head, which means that I have an agreement with you that you don't know exists.
Exactly.
And you just broke that agreement. So next time you're like, hey, you drive me to the airport? I'm like, I don't think so. I'm busy. And you're like, oh, cool, no problem. And then you ask me again later, and I'm like, nope, busy. And you're like, Jordan's giving me this weird vibe.
Yeah.
And you're like, are you mad at me? And I'm like, I don't know, not really. I mean, I guess my mint recipe wasn't good enough for you. And you're like, wait, hold on. You're mad at me for this reason. So I'm poisoning my own relationships by keeping score. I'm like, you owe me one. No, don't do that. And it's really easy to do it subconsciously.
Yeah.
And we think, but I've driven you to the airport like 5 times. Yeah. You're building social capital. You don't get to decide how someone else is going to return the favor, or if they're going to return the favor.
Right.
You have to be comfortable giving without the expectation of anything in return. Sound familiar? So do not keep score. You will poison perfectly good relationships with people. Like, I guarantee you that there's people out there that know you and I that we thought were friends with, and they're mad at us because I didn't have them on the Jordan Harbinger show when they launched their wellness book, which I don't cover.
Right. Or like people ask me all the time, like friends or like semi-friends, can you send out this in your newsletter? And I'm like, have you ever read my newsletter?
Yeah.
Because if you've ever read my newsletter, you'll see we don't send out a single link about anything but our articles. Like that's like, if you read the newsletter, you would know. And you asking, it's like a very odd thing. Well, am I willing to put it on Twitter, talk about it? Like, yes, all those other things. It also, what that does, keeping score, is it nulls all the previous good deeds you've done. It does. Right? So, like, if you've taken that person to the airport 5 times, and then all of a sudden you're like, shoot, I don't want to send out your mint tea booklet. And you're like, wow, all those 5 times where I thought this person was being generous, they just wanted this from me.
Exactly.
Like, nulls all the previous giving.
And if this is a sort of ambiguous or vague example, when I throw it into a dating context, it'll totally work, right?
Let's do it.
So let's say that I'm driving you to the airport 5 times, and I'm like, one day she's gonna realize the guy for her was here the whole time, right? And you're like, one day you're crying about like this guy that you were dating, and then I'm like fuming, right? Because I'm like, of course you're complaining. All other guys are bad, and I'm good. The right one, And then one day I have too much whiskey with my friends, and like, Vanessa, I love you. What the hell? You never realized that I'm so great. And you're like, whoa, psycho. Yeah. Psycho. And then you go, wait a minute. All the times that we hung out, that we ate pizza, that you drove me to the airport, you're just like, we're not friends? I thought we were friends. No. Yeah. And then you're like, okay, I never want to see you again, because now everything I'm doing to be nice in the future, you're going to be, and rightfully so, skeptical of my intentions. And this is a problem. If you have an agenda while you're helping other people, you're breaking ABG. You're giving with the secret expectation of something in return. You're keeping score. You're building covert contracts. You're ruining your own relationships. And people who do this, they think other people are being one-sided or are being takers, but really they're just keeping score.
That's right.
So they're poisoning their own friendships.
So I would say here, another little action step is to try to give something that you actually enjoy giving. Mm-hmm. So it's really easy to not keep score when you actually enjoy giving things. For example, I love cooking, and one of my favorite things to make for people are freezer breakfast burritos.
Freezer breakfast burritos?
And here's
Does that
why.
count as cooking?
This counts as cooking.
Okay.
It totally counts. I have a little assembly
checking.
line. I'm doing this tomorrow because I have found that all my friends are pregnant. All my friends have a little baby. They can eat with one hand. And so what I found is if I take their favorite breakfast burrito recipe and I assembly line them and I freeze them for them, they have instant meals they can eat.
Oh, that is nice.
I love making them. It's so much fun to do. I don't need them to do that for me. Right?
Right.
I don't need them to do that. I
make my own burritos.
Right, I can. And I have my own recipe that I like. I actually just enjoy cooking. It's an excuse for me to make something for someone else. So if you have something that you just love doing anyway, you just want an excuse to do it, knit someone a sweater they don't need, whatever. Yeah. If you're doing something you actually like, it's so much easier to not keep score.
I'm just waiting for my wife to be pregnant and we get all these burritos and then at the bottom is a copy of your book. And we're like, I knew it. The whole time.
No, I
we're just eating our way down to this favor and her zombie
I'm going to get
apocalypse
blue dye and just put Captivate on the bacon. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Zombie
and every time you open it, you're like, Captivate.
Yeah.
Right? It's in your Instagram photos. That's what
I knew it. You had an agenda the whole time.
I did. Secretly.
All right.
Breakfast burritos sell Captivate. So I'm so grateful for Jordan for coming on the show today. You must check him out. Where can people find you? What's the easiest way?
Sure. So I host the Jordan Harbinger Show. It's a podcast. If you listen to podcasts, then you should definitely check it out. Otherwise...
And if you don't, you should still check it out.
Yeah, seriously. What's wrong with you? You don't listen to podcasts?
It's a cool thing to do.
JordanHarbinger.com/podcast is where that's at. But if you just want some videos, you just want some info on the things that we teach, like networking or great stuff from interesting people like Vanessa, you can find it at my website, JordanHarbinger.com.
And we'll have all that in the show notes below the video. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for our next World's Most Interesting People person. Did you love this video? We love you too. Please give us some love by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. You might also like these videos to check out after this one.